Hi, I'm John McAuliffe, Chief Marketing Officer of VFM Leonardo, and welcome to the VTV channel. VTV is a weekly series of interviews with industry experts on the latest topics in travel e-business, and specifically online merchandising practices that help hoteliers extract more value out of their online presence. As always, we encourage you to email us at vtv@vfmleonardo.com to suggest topics that you would like us to cover in future episodes. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Diane Driscoll, founder of Hotel Rescue and president of Ridgeline Hospitality, a hotel development and advisory company focusing on unique hotels in the southern United States. Diana is heavily involved in the green movement and social media. She frequently writes and speaks on these topics. Before the formation of Ridgeline Hospitality, she practiced optometry and received numerous awards for excellence. Her knowledge of how people perceive and respond to visual stimuli, paired with her experience in the hospitality industry, makes her an expert on the importance of visual experiences for marketing hotels. Diana, thank you for joining us on VTV and welcome.
Thank you for having me, John.
Our topic today is using your hotel marketing budget wisely. I'm certainly sure that's a topic that all of our audience would like to hear more about. And it strikes me that as a successful entrepreneur yourself with businesses both inside and outside of the hotel industry, and as a hotel operator that faces the same challenges as other hoteliers when it comes to allocating budgets and maximizing the effectiveness of your marketing budget. And the fact that many hoteliers are faced with a sheer volume of online marketing opportunities and initiatives, that there's confusion out there. And a lot of people are asking, where do I start? How do I focus? And what kind of activities are going to help me drive conversions more effectively? So in your opinion, Diana, which marketing initiatives do you believe hoteliers should focus on first?
That's such a great and timely question, John, because as you mentioned, right now is a tough time for a lot of hoteliers. And as we are trying to get through this recession and scratch and claw our way back to a good profitability, it's easy to get in a state of panic and either throw money at anything that moves and just hope it works, or take the opposite tact and we become paralyzed and unable to make any decisions at all. And obviously, neither one of those approaches is going to be effective. So I think what we all need to do is just take that collective deep breath, sit back, and look at, from a business standpoint, where can our money go that is the most effectively spent? Where do we get the most bang for our buck, so to speak? How do we know that? Is there science? Are there studies to back it up to give us that comfort level? And certainly we know already that imagery is critical online. And we know from the Travel Association's industrial report that the vast majority of online reservations are made either at the image gallery or one click later. So we know imagery is critical. Now, my interest say starting as an undergraduate psychology major and going on to being an eye doctor and then into hospitality development and consulting. We're a dime a dozen, I understand. But my interest especially is what motivates us to make the decisions that we do, especially when confronted with this imagery. Why do sometimes we press that book button, so to speak, when we see an image, and sometimes we just let it go by? And for that, we can look to science. And the research I did on that, I thought was, one, fascinating, and two, something that all hoteliers could use and need to be aware of. First, what I learned is that when people look at an image, the subconscious level of the brain, and it starts at the amygdala and goes to the extrastriate visual cortex, which I understand is like way more than you want to know. But keep in mind that it's the subconscious level of the brain. Looks at that image, and if it's compelling, it'll make an immediate decision on whether or not to move ahead, if you will. And then The conscious level of the brain comes in and looks at the rational component and tries to back up that decision. So then the question comes as, why are some images much more compelling than others? And again, we can look to science for that. And the studies actually show that subconscious part of the brain light up on an MRI when we're confronted with images that are compelling. And what we learned is that an image is more compelling if it can touch on an emotion of some sort. And the more senses that are stimulated, the more compelling it is. So as hoteliers, we can use that information in our imagery to try to get the attention of the potential hotel guest, and we'll have the best opportunity to convert them from a potential guest into a guest who has your attention and they are excited about seeing your hotel before they've even gotten there.
Diana, can you you talked there a bit about what makes an image more compelling, and talked about how emotion in that image will drive, make it more compelling. What do you have any specific examples of what a hotelier could do to make their imagery more emotive?
You know, that's a great question, because emotion obviously is an individual thing. Some people will feel an emotion for different things, but certainly stimulating the senses will also bring out the emotion. So pictures of wonderful food to stimulate the sense of taste, and showing say friends together. That's a very people bonding experience. That can also touch on the emotion. Really, the sky is the limit on making a photo or an imagery to some degree emotive. But showing an empty bar, for example, is probably one of the less compelling images possible. So keep in mind that something that could bond that person on that subconscious level, even if it touches on a vague sort of emotion, is what you want.
Diane, you recently published an article where you discussed how men and women react differently to visual information. And I'll quote you from your article. Men make their choices when looking at pictures much more rapidly than women. In your opinion, how can hoteliers use this to their advantage?
Oh boy, John, did this get me so much into some hot water with the guys, let me tell you. The sentence that you're referring to went on to say that it, on average, takes men approximately 2.5 seconds once they're presented with a visual stimulus to decide whether or not to push the book button or to go on reading, turn the page, or to go to the next image, what have you. So you do not have much time with these people. And I want to apologize to everybody, because nobody likes to be pigeonholed. I certainly don't. I don't even fit a pigeonhole as a female business traveler. But as business people and as hoteliers, it is important that we look at these general trends. So that can help you as a hotelier, say if you're trying to attract that business traveler, and still overall, business travelers tend to be men. So to do that, one, you don't have much time. That 2.5 seconds goes by like that. So you need to capture them visually and do it quickly. Now, I really think that that could lead to a trend that I would love to see happen. And you can certainly do this on your website. But say, looking at the OTAs or the travel review sites, where that first image of the hotel is that outside shot and usually takes up about half the parking lot. It's one of the least compelling images you can imagine of a hotel. That is probably not the best way to use your 2.5 seconds. I'd love to see that image, say, for the business traveler, to be an interior shot, someplace where a business person could feel comfortable. Say, show what appears to be a successful looking business person reviewing a PowerPoint presentation with a hot, steamy cup of cappuccino in a beautiful room, or show the celebration afterwards with their colleagues, or they've signed this huge contract and they're celebrating over fancy martinis, what have you. And I would even suggest that you take it one step further and make it not so much where the business traveler can picture himself in the hotel, but wants to aspire to be good enough for your hotel. And by that, you want it to feel like maybe it's a little bit of a reach for them. But if they could be more successful in that environment, feel more successful, they are willing to pay a premium for that. So keep that in mind. Now, on the flip side, and again with another apology for pigeonholing, are the women. And the studies by Google indicate that women are still the main sex to make the leisure travel arrangements for the family, especially vacation plans. And they will take, on average, about 29 days to research that. And they will visit approximately 22 travel sites before they make their booking decision. I can't imagine. That just sounds incredibly painful and torturous to me. But that is what the studies show, and that's what we should use as a general trend. So if you're trying to capture the leisure traveler, for example, one, you want to make sure that you answer all of her concerns. You want that rational component in there. And the imagery, obviously, attract her. But very importantly is you need to be consistent across all the genre. The very last thing you want to see happen is to have her find your hotel on a site, fall in love with it, just believe that's going to be the one for her. And then she goes to 21 other sites, finds an inconsistent message, say, at the next site, and you lose her just like that after all that work. So be consistent when you're getting that message across. Be visual, make the visual imagery compelling, and you'll have everything at your in your toolbox to try to convert that potential hotelier or hotel guest into the hotel guest.
Diane, that's certainly, I think, good information for our audience to hear. And it appears that either way, whether it's a female or a male, or a business traveler versus a leisure traveler, the ability to use imagery to convey a compelling reason to stay at that hotel through the use of emotive and or lifestyle imagery is, number one, important. And then the second element to that, as you're saying, is the consistency of that visual imagery across the many sites that travel shoppers, particularly, as you pointed out, the leisure travel shopper uses through an exhaustive research phase of their travel planning process.
Absolutely.
Excellent information for our audience. Thank you very much for joining us on VTV, and we look forward to having you again.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
To all the viewers out there, be sure to post your comments on this episode of VTV and subscribe to our feed to receive more valuable insights from industry experts.